Hello, welcome back to the Matt Pfeiffer Experience. I'm your host, Matthew Pfeiffer, and we have on a very special guest today. We have Diana Romanovska. She's out of California, and you guys know how I get down here. I don't bring on people that I wouldn't recommend myself, that wouldn't refer to a friend or family member. And she is based in California, so if you're in California, it's someone that you definitely can talk to, that you can definitely utilize and contact her firm. It's not just her; she also has other attorneys that are underneath her that we like, that we know, like, and trust. And so I'm excited about having this conversation with her. And she has a wealth of experience. She has some experience not only here in the States, but also over in Germany that we're going to talk about as well. And the way that they train people over in Germany is very different and very unique than what they do here in the States. We're going to be talking about that because I think that really diversifies her background of people who go through this tech training. I think that's going to give you a unique perspective as well as we get to talk to her and talk about it as well. And so without further ado, Diana, thank you and welcome to the Matt Pfeiffer Experience. And we kick it over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started.
Absolutely. So I'm an attorney, family law specialist practicing in California since 2012. And I have been practicing also a little bit in Germany. And in Germany, as you mentioned, the training was completely different. So in Germany, first of all, you have to take 2 bar exams, one after 4 years of being in law school. That's called first bar exam. And
Yeah.
then we are required to go and practice for 3 months as a judge, 3 months as a prosecutor, 3 months in administrative office, and 9 months as an attorney
Wow.
before we're allowed to take a second bar exam, which is like 6 hours each,
Mhm.
6 exams, and then finally, if that passed oral exam, I passed them all. So it was quite an experience. I felt it was building an elite type of profession because of the hurdles we had to
Yeah.
overcome
So
each
essentially
exam.
you had to work through multiple different facets of family court so you get different perspectives.
Correct. And as I told you before, when I worked for a judge, I noticed that we already knew, I had to write the decisions. I
Yeah.
noted that the judge gave the party who he knew is going to lose the most amount of speaking.
Mhm.
And so it helps me right now to understand a little bit more how it works in the courthouse, because we do have tentative ruling decision
Mhm.
in some of the counties, like San Francisco and Marin, and the judge issues a tentative ruling a day before.
Yeah.
So whoever objects has to speak a lot,
Yeah.
because and usually the judge keeps the tentative. So it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
Whoever needs to speak too much, that's the party who probably gonna lose.
Yeah. Have you noticed that the system in Germany is better or worse because of the way that they train their attorneys over there?
I don't know if I could say better, or worse. I found when I was in Germany, I found German people don't go to court as often
Oh, interesting.
as I would see in California.
Mhm.
I, to my defense, I haven't practiced too much in Germany, but whenever I have German clients, it's usually settled very quickly.
Yeah.
So the whole society is a little bit less litigious, I would say,
Mhm.
compared to American, or I should say California litigants
Yeah.
and clients.
Why do you think that there is such a difference? Why do you think they litigate less over there?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, first of all, it could be that it takes a long time to get a hearing. Trials are set also far in advance, like it would be in California. And it's everything is very well organized. I'm not saying that California is not well organized. It's just the mentality is different.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
I don't want to speculate and get into a
Yeah.
cultural.
It sounds like there's a different structure and kind of a more organized structure. And it sounds
Yeah.
like there may not be, because the culture is different, not as many people want to litigate, not as many people want to win the divorce. And so I think it sounds to me like maybe culture over there is just a bit different in terms of litigation and willingness to work out and maybe not as many reasons to fight.
Yes, I remember when I was studying in Germany, the first case I heard from America was the hot coffee at
Hmm.
McDonald's.
Uh,
And in Germany, that case would have been cut off right off the bat. You wouldn't be able to even file that kind of case.
oh, wow.
So and also I think America and California, I should say, generally is more open for different opinions and discussions, and it includes litigations.
Yeah.
And that is, in my opinion, is a good thing to some extent,
Yeah.
not to a frivolous extent. So yeah, that was that was a shocker. And then I
Yeah.
actually learned more details about this case and its loss and appeal. I mean, I heard lots of other things, but
Yeah.
yeah, Germany wouldn't be supporting of this type of cases.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. And you recently wrote a book, from what I understand as well. Is that right?
Yes, I can
Uh-huh.
show it. It's right there.
Yeah.
Divorce like a boss. You see,
Uh-huh. Well, and people say don't ever judge a book by its cover. So when you say divorce like a boss, what does that mean to you? And who might be listening that might gravitate towards that book?
it's for my potential client. So after dedicating myself for 12 years to do YouTube, I have lots of information on YouTube. It's not legal advice, it's more information. It's
Right.
the same questions people ask me: how to dress to court, how is spousal support calculated, how long does divorce take, um, how do I assemble my team. So I
Yeah.
created 12 chapters in the book. Most common asked questions organized. So I took over 300 videos in my YouTube channel, organized them in chapters of um, introduction, how I went through my own divorce
Yeah.
as a child of divorce, how it affects children, how it affects an adult, how to negotiate prenup, how to assemble your team, how to dress to court. Basically, all questions. In this very short, um, I would say it's short book compared to other books, and it has also exercise. After each chapter, I have exercise sheet, like time to reflect, and then people can, after each chapter, write their own thoughts and
Which is
questions.
important because, people, that's something that people talk about in therapy a lot is in writing down people's thoughts and writing down, what I don't think that people understand the power of organizing their thoughts just by writing it down on a piece of paper and how much relief that actually provides for a lot of people.
It did provide a lot of relief to me
Yeah.
to write this book, because
Yeah.
all my thoughts about divorce, how would I organize it for a person who doesn't know anything about divorce?
Yeah.
They just were hit with a summons being served, and then they're
Yeah.
like, oh man, how would I start this? And
Yeah.
so I took them step by step by step. It's I wrote in this introduction of the book, it's when you are waking up at 3 in the morning and you can't call your lawyer, but you have
I
all
bet.
these burning questions, they're
Yeah.
here.
So what's something that maybe you learned from your own personal divorce that you did put into the book?
I did learn that when I was a child, I think the first time my parents, and they were divorced 5 times to each other,
Wow.
what I did learn how it affected me. As a
Mhm.
child, I thought it's my fault that they're divorcing, and therefore I need to do everything in my power to get them back together. And when now, as an attorney, when I help people who do have children to go
Mhm.
through divorce, I make sure they're not to extent possible. Of course, I
Yep.
have no control over many things, including my client. But what I do is to guide them in a way that their divorce is amicable,
Yeah.
and when children are involved, and they still remain friends as parents, so they can co-parent. because I can tell you litigation is very toxic
Mm-hmm.
when it affects children. It's not, for example, if there is a litigation, parents think it doesn't affect children, they're sitting in the next room planning next hearing with either their attorney, and then they speak to their friends. Children overhear this kind of conversations.
Yeah.
And so it does affect them a lot. Just not from overhearing, but the whole energy shifts in the family when
Yeah.
parents go through divorce. So it's better
Yeah.
to
They can
be.
feel that everyone can remember a moment where you may have felt the tension. Well, children feel that tension too whenever they are experiencing that with their parents.
Most importantly is the consequence when they grow up. How are they gonna interact with the significant other? With how are they going to build relationships? They
Yeah.
mimic the relationship they experience in their home.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to keep that relationship going. And some parents need to get divorced. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Absolutely.
But how they stay in it, the humanity is very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah. You,
involved,
you
especially.
you've been doing this for quite some time, and like we just talked about and just illustrated, you have a lot of experience. And one of the things that I think that a lot of people think, and there's a lot of misconception when it comes to men going through a divorce. And you work with both men and women. Do you notice any differences whenever you have a client who is a male who's going through a high conflict divorce versus a woman who's going through a high conflict divorce?
Mm. I haven't thought about it in this way because, hmm, I wouldn't classify men and women. I would classify how ready are they for getting divorced. Some people arrive at my office and they have been ready for 5 years. I
Yeah.
remember having a man walking into my office and he has been hit by his wife and abused and diminished, and he told me he's going to wait until the children are 15, until they're older. And so he was willing to sacrifice, to suck it up. I feel, I don't know if I should say that, but I feel in my experience, men tend to suck it up more.
Uh-huh.
Um, Maybe women do, but they don't tell me that.
Uh-huh.
They usually are the ones who file first because, men tend to believe that it's going to get better. And if I back up here and there, it might work. And when women are going through divorce, they either are surprised, which is
Mhm.
rare. Usually they're the ones who are, I'm ready.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say in most cases, maybe women are more proactive.
Uh-huh. What do you think there's any contributing factors towards women being more proactive and ready versus a man who is more reluctant or wants to stick it out or thinks that things are going to get better?
I don't know.
No, no.
I don't know. I wish I knew the psychology of women and men, but that's not my expertise.
Hmm. Yeah.
I would speculate.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that you also specialize in is people going through divorce when one or both people earn quite a bit, and well into the seven figures. And those divorces present some unique challenges because I'm assuming that people, because they have resources, there's a lot more to divide, there's a lot more assets to deal with, but also that also gives people the ability to hide and sneak some things and have offshore accounts, I'm assuming. But I'll let you kind of tell us like what the difference is and what people can expect if they're going through a high net worth, high conflict divorce.
Well, as you nailed it, when people are going through high net worth divorce, there is one thing for sure. They would need a forensic accountant, an
Hmm.
accountant who would be able to look at all aspects of the assets, meaning it could be restricted stock units, it could
Yeah,
be cryptocurrencies invested many years ago, but hello, I lost my ledger.
yeah,
Surprise right before divorce. Um, Things like that create a lot of problems. Or they start some LLCs in Canada,
Mhm.
and then another businesses they would have during the marriage would close, and
Yeah.
suddenly would be another LLC with the same type of employees and same partners, just different. Hello, I started after date of separation. Let's now consider it as community property business because that business that made millions of dollars no longer exists anymore suddenly.
Yeah.
So these are tricky issues that
Mhm.
require a lot of strategy
Yeah.
and unpacking.
Do you deal with a lot of people who want to challenge prenups?
Ooh, lately, last year there was a case of appeal that came out, case of appeal last,
Mhm.
LAST, that said prenups are presumed to be not enforceable until the judge says
Really?
so, until the judge says
Wow.
it's enforceable. There's a season. Right now is a prenup season. Usually it's either, before tax season or during summertime.
Mhm.
A lot of
So,
people want to have a prenup. Absolutely.
yeah. So with that legislation that you just talked about, does that change? Like, are people just not getting prenups? Are people just deciding not to get married at all because there's still a risk?
I don't see a trend changing.
Yeah.
I don't think people are aware of that case at all.
Mhm.
They just get a longer CYA letter from their lawyers called cover my ass letter saying, look, your prenup could be unenforceable pending litigation. And the judge could say, yes, it's enforceable at the end. But I think this case was designed to help people to get spousal support because in prenups, usually the higher earner says to the lower earner, you're not going to get spousal support.
Yeah.
And then 10 years along the line, when they file for divorce and have kids, they get child support, but the wife doesn't get any, usually,
Yeah.
doesn't get any spousal support. Could be husband, but, I'm
Yeah.
taking a classical example. And then during the divorce, the judge says, I disregard the prenup now. I'm going to give her support. And then if the prenup is found to be valid, then that support needs to be paid back.
Yeah.
So it's not 100% a bad case.
What do you advise people who might be going through who are preparing for a conflict with a high net worth individual who may have been very controlling and abusive through the relationship? And they're using whether it be resources, whether it be money, or their power as a means of control. What's the best way to get out, or what's the best way to prepare for litigation, in particular if they're worried that they're going to take away the access to money and finances to be able to afford an attorney?
First and very first thing I do, I use their own litigation tactics against them to get attorney's fees. In one case, I was able to get $100,000 attorney fee award
Wow.
in January of this year,
Yeah.
where on the other side, that person was engaging in high litigation tactics.
Yeah.
Send discovery, excessive discovery, file several ex parte requests, asked to terminate spousal support when the other spouse didn't even have a work permit yet in
Mm.
America. Just showing a coercive control and showing that litigation tactic and that other spouse who engaged in that litigation tactics has millions of dollars. So the judge didn't have a problem to issue that attorney fee award. In fact, the judge says, I wonder why so little. Because,
Yeah.
that other spouse already spent over $300,000
Yeah.
in
You
only
know,
1 or 2 years.
one of the things that you touched on was, you hit the nail on the head, and you use the CC word, or the CC phrase, coercive control. And one of the things that I think that a lot of people are worried about is that the courts or their attorney isn't going to be able to see through the coercive control because it is so covert. It's not, physical abuse where they can take pictures or videos or, show the physical abuse. What, uh, I'm gonna ask this in a two-part question. How do you see it, coercive control, how do you recognize it as an attorney, and how does an attorney typically approach coercive control? And then how does like the court or a judge see the coercive control, and how is it maneuvered in court?
You know, I know when I see it, this is the type of thing when I see a pattern of someone, pardon me, engaging in controlling. For example, I have a case right now where it's not very clear.
Yeah.
Um, Wife, I'm representing father of a small child, and the wife is dictating the schedule. She dictates everything
Yeah.
and how to feed, how to. So what I do nowadays, because judges are not equipped to accept coercive control yet.
Hmm.
And so what I do, in one of my cases, I hired a specialist.
Hmm.
There is a domestic violence specialist who is going to testify and say, this type of behavior does qualify for coercive control. Because when the judge hears it from me, it doesn't always fly.
Right. So you were saying that the judge isn't necessarily equipped to recognize coercive control, so you would get a specialist, and that I'm assuming because the judge would assume that you're biased towards your client. That's the reason why like a specialist might be necessary in situations like that. Is that right?
Yes, I have been in a situation where a judge is sort of biased towards mom. Mother should have the children. So in one of my cases, I have a father of 4 children who got restraining order against mother for taking away the children on Father's Day and many other days, and that he equal timeshare. And then we got another judge who saying that equal timeshare would allow mother not give the children to the father half of the time and doesn't do anything about it. He's like, oh, and he's asking a mother, so is every other weekend okay? I want to make an order you're gonna follow.
Mhm.
So not only the mother is engaging in coercive control, the court in a way is helping her to dictate the schedule and let the kids dictate the schedule. And so
Yeah.
that's where we're striking for a specialist and moving this case to a different judge.
How common do you think that is where the mother is engaging in coercive control? I think that on the surface, at least on social media, they make it sound like it's the man all the time, right? The father all the time. Do you think it's closer to like 50-50, or do you think it's like 40-60-40? Like what, on your stance, what do you say between coercive control and, the power and control dynamics and those sorts of things?
You know, it's hard to say because usually men feel pride to come and say, well, my wife is, they don't even know they're being controlled.
Yeah.
They're so used to suck it up that I'm the one who has to tell them, actually, that's not okay. So women and men, it's it depends on their level of abuse tolerance, I would say.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
depends how they were raised as a child. So someone who was raised by an abusive parent is not going to notice. In fact, it
Right.
feels familiar to be with a partner who is abusing them. It
Right.
feels like love because that's
Yeah.
what they experienced as a child. And I wouldn't say men or women are 60-40. I cannot say that because in my office, usually I end up having more women with domestic violence restraining order desires,
Mhm.
but then I have men who don't even notice they are being abused. So
Mm.
if men were so alert like women would be, then probably it would be closer to 50-50
Wow. Mhm. Yeah,
because
I
men
see that.
don't
Because when I'm in therapy, I work with a lot of men who, you're right, you have to tell them that this is abuse. I think, going back to one of your original statements, you said you don't know it from a psychological perspective, but, I think that, with men, we're not necessarily taught to protect ourselves from women. We're taught to, fight for our women. We're taught to protect ourselves, like in terms of fighting other men and, defend your house and those sorts of things. But especially when it comes to coercive control, manipulative behavior, that's not, I mean, it's not, I don't think I can make an argument it's not taught to many people at all. But we're in particular not taught to be careful of our wife or be careful of our girlfriend or the person that we're with. We're ultimately just taught to trust, and if things don't work out, no matter what, it's our fault, even if that person is abusive, is typically what a lot of men are taught, and that's what a lot of men have kind of expressed to me when I've worked with them behind closed doors.
Yes, and even worse, when they're going through divorce, they still protect provide mode. And
Oh,
I have to remind them, I cannot protect provide. I cannot let you be in that mode because I cannot represent your other spouse. I'm representing you. You got to
yeah,
shift to think as if you're advocating for yourself.
yeah.
Yeah, I have
But
to snap them up of it.
for both men and women who are listening right now, and maybe they're like, you know what, maybe I'm going through a course of controlling situation. Um, what would you advise? Like, how would someone be able to tell that this divorce that they're about to go through, this breakup that they're about to go through, that maybe they should be a little bit more careful, and that this person is actually being a puppet master behind the scenes, and it's not going to be as cordial as what they might think?
I would say if it doesn't feel right, something is not right, right? So trust your gut, trust what's right for you as a client, and then and verify.
Yeah,
Verify, all right, if my spouse is not allowing me to see his or her bank accounts for the
yeah,
last year, so I might have to hire a specialist to subpoena those bank records to see if what happens before the date of separation. Some spouses plan it. And the way
yeah,
they plan it, because they know assets are divided between date of marriage and date of separation. So what they do is they transfer funds away, hoping
yeah,
that it's not going to be noticed. And then, the date of separation, we divide what we have.
yeah,
And so what I do is I look at last 3 years before the date of separation and see where the money has been going, and then add a credit to the other spouse
yeah.
to reimburse for the money gone.
Diana, you are a wealth of knowledge, and you have such a wealth of experience between everything that you've done in Germany, everything that you've done here as an author, as an attorney, as someone who litigates, and helps people with mediation and everything. Thank you so much for being a part. I want to kick it over to you. Tell people where they can find you at if they want to either follow you, if they want to find more information, or if they want to hire you themselves, or if they want to refer you to their friend or family member.
The best way to find me and the easiest is to type in Google "divorce like a boss," and they will find me on YouTube, in Amazon to buy book, and on YouTube I have all types of links how to schedule an appointment to my website, romanovskalaw.com. But "Divorce Like a Boss" is a good start to find me.
Awesome. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go down to the comment section down below and let us know, let Diana and myself know that takeaway that maybe you learned today that you didn't know before. You can also go down to the comment section or go down to the show notes. We'll have all of her information there, and you can book, you can schedule, but also make sure you guys go over to her social media and give her some likes, give her some shares, give her some follows. If you have questions, if you want to learn more about, or if you want to hear more about her book and about her life and about how she conducts divorce in California, make sure you guys go check that out. With all that being said, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next episode. You guys have a good one.
Bye.